Addison. Oh, you know what? Addison, can you hear us? She's on mute. Okay. Can you hear us, Addison?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. All right, the floor is Christy's. Keep going.
Okay. Like I was saying, I also didn't hear that, is that every agent's gonna do their listings a completely different way. So y'all figure out what works for you. Do what you're comfortable with, do what your budget allows you to do, whatever the case might be for that property. So I kind of figured I'd start with, you just signed the listing agreement. Now what do you do? Because marketing technically will start before it hits the market, everybody sees it. So I kind of broke it into some different stages, starting with what you would do before you're going into FMLS or MLS. So look at your property. What does that property need? Because you started to see some properties now that y'all have been previewing homes with Ignite and doing some deals on your own. But clean goes a long way. If the property's ugly, at least make it clean. Bring in cleaning services. Some agents have been willing to do some things for buyers ahead of time or sellers ahead of time out of their own pocket with it in the listing agreement saying when it closes, I'm being reimbursed. Don't recommend doing it, but it's certainly an option because the seller needs to have some skin in the game too. So do we need landscapers out? Do we need painters out? If it's got crazy colors, that's going to be feedback you're going to hear. It's all relative to the price. So you've already done the research in your neighborhood. You know what's been selling in that neighborhood. You know what they look like based on the pictures. How does yours compare? But anything will sell for the right price. Ugly, stinky, nasty colors, outdated, it all will sell. So don't worry about that. But just start thinking about what little things you can do to help improve that and get it ready for pictures. If it's stinky, the biggest things that are stinky is usually dampness. So go get those little damp rids. I think they even have a commercial now that says my real estate agent told me to do this. Plugins, be very comfortable with the flavor. Make sure it's very neutral. I'm a fan of apples. I hate ones that smell like, I call them old man cologne. And you know it when you walk in because the whole house stinks of it and they're in every single room. One by the front door is nice, or if there's a big room, maybe one there. Don't ever do it with those plugins, please. I've been known to take some of them out and set them on the counter just because they're just so awful. And some people have a big sensitivity to smell. So you want to make it so it's a nice experience, not that the client's like, my eyes are watering, I gotta go, let's just get out of this house kind of thing. So keep about that. So get your house ready for the pictures. And then based on the house, you might think about what kind of pictures do you need? How many pictures do you need? If it's a small little bungalow, there's only 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, you're probably gonna be fine with a small package with your photographers. And anytime you need photographers, any of these services to get a house ready, feel free to go onto the Quan and the Facebook pages for Rawls Group. And I always start with searching first because somebody's probably asked that question. Somebody's asked for a photographer in Decula or whatever it might be. So there's an answer there. So check on that stuff. When they're higher end listings, you might spend a little bit more money on your photography, might get a bigger listing, a photo package. You might do drone shots because it's a really big lot and you want to see how it sits on the lot and the pool and all that happy stuff. You might do Twilight Shots. There's a lot of companies out there who will do Twilight Shots for a fee. You can send them your regular picture and they'll flip it and put little lights on all the windows. Box Brownie is a big one that does that stuff. They'll do virtual staging. So if your client's too cheap to pay for staging and the house is empty, they'll for a certain fee, they'll drop pictures into those, furniture into those pictures as well. So it's just something you might think about. So maybe they don't want to stage, but maybe I'd be willing to pay for a couple of pictures to be staged in either a master bedroom or family room, something like that. People push back on staging, but you can talk to the stagers and they'll give you stats that staged homes sell for considerably more than unstaged homes, especially when they're empty. They just feel warmer, they're more inviting. People think they can picture themselves, they just want to sit down in this comfy chair. Well, the chair doesn't come with the house, but it builds the feeling of that house. So when I talk to my folks about staging, they usually are like, ooh, $2,500, $3,000, that's a lot more than I want. Some can do it as cheap as $1,500. But I remind them if I come back and ask you for a price drop, we're probably going to hit at least $3,000 to $5,000 on that price drop. So this is a cheaper alternative. You'll sell faster, you'll sell for more money. So, I
was going to ask you, how many homes, out of your homes, do you do it for all of them for staging, or how do you decide for yourself, like for yours?
It just depends on the property. If the neighborhood is selling, everything's selling in 2 days, and I know I'm priced competitively with it, I've got a hot little house, and when you've got a good house versus when you've got kind of a rough house, I probably won't stage it. When it's a small house, I do want to stage it like those little ranches that were built in the 50s and 60s. Everybody thinks, oh my gosh, I can't possibly get the furniture in here. I can't live in this little house. You would be surprised what those stagers can do. A 1,000 square foot house, 2 bedrooms, they can put a smaller scale sofa, table, little TV stand. So I love it on the small houses.
Gotcha. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
How do you, do you pay for the staging or do you have to set up it?
The seller will pay for it. So I'll give them some names of people that my clients have used in the past have been happy with. And anytime I give anybody names, it's always like, these are people other clients have told me they were happy with. It's not Christy's recommending the stager, because you never know when somebody's gonna go bad. And we've all had it where you loved your landscape guy and all of a sudden he just went off the rails and he doesn't show up, he's not dependable anymore. So those things happen. So yeah, always pitch your folks that way. So I'll say, here's some stagers I've looked at. Here's 3 or 4 that other clients have recommended. And I might put some notes like, this one will come in and just reorganize what you already have. And she might be $75 an hour or something like that. And that's a nice option. Especially when it's just a decent house. It just might have too much clutter. One of my ladies had a whole collection of clown plates and that was her thing. Some of them, we all know, some people think clowns are creepy. So yeah, it wasn't me telling her that had to go. It was me bringing a third party person in. And that way she could say, I love these. Let's go ahead and pack them because you're moving anyway. And that way it was a subtle way of giving. So they've been known, one of the gals I use, she'll come through and say, all right, for your master bedroom, we've already rearranged the furniture and everything. I want you to get a new master bedroom comforter set. Here's a link for one on Target that's only like $50. Feel free to use it. We'll take the pictures, put it back in the bag and take it back to Target for all we care. Because it's all about the pictures in my mind, because that way you're going to get those people to the house, because they're going through, scroll. They're just looking for a reason to kick out that house because they've got to narrow it down. And then certainly you do want the impression of the house. So I'd rather them keep that nice bedding for the showings of the house. But if I can't, I've definitely been known. I'll take my own stuff into the house. Picture goes up. So don't be surprised if my same bedspread shows up in half my listings. I have a handful of things that I might have collected over years that don't have room in my house. And I'll take this little set of lanterns and put them by the front door. I might bring a doormat. This is welcome. Something like that. Little things. So I have my little suitcase that comes along, and out go some fluffy towels or some candles or some books. But I'm not a stager. But at least it makes an empty house not look so boring.
I've got a whole, and like Patty Jackson has a storage unit.
Oh yeah,
Did you
there's
know
some agents who do. Yeah.
Paige has a storage unit. Now I've got my garage and the little storage thing out in the back. And I've got big old pictures and lots of white fluffy towels and stuff. Because like her, you have to put something in an empty house to warm it up. And bookstore, the thrift store, went to the thrift store and I bought a whole bunch of cookbooks, nice and new, because people buy too many cookbooks for like 50 cents each. And I have them at home and I put them in all of my, so if you go look at my name, my listings, you're gonna see the same old cookbooks.
Oh yeah, or the one somebody else gave you for holidays, you're like, I've never used any of these.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And you just flip it to a pretty brightly colored page and you open that thing up. Looks wonderful.
Yeah, or just a little dish towel sitting there, or a little soap dispenser by the sink. It doesn't have to be expensive stuff. Like I got a little bowl, a whole bunch of green apples. I have another one with a whole bunch of red apples. So just something that just warms it up a little bit. And it also takes away from that laminate countertop, old cabinets. So they walk in and they see pops of something or pops of greenery or whatever it might be. And it just kind of moves the eye away. Not that I'm trying to downplay my ugliness, but if that's all there is to look at, that's all they're going to think about is, I really need to replace those cabinets. Well, we just repainted them so they look prettier, but don't feel like you have to spend a lot of money over time. Like something needed something, so I went and bought a picture, or somebody was getting rid of something. I'm like, well, that's kind of nice. I'll keep it, and then I just kind of had more stuff.
There was a place right next to me Saturday that was having a staging liquidation sale, like a warehouse.
Oh yeah, we'd all been there.
I was like, let me slide in. I think they're still having it. I'll check for the time today, so I'll send it to you guys.
And if nothing
That's
else,
a tax write-off for us.
yeah, I did that. And I mean, I have 2 shower curtains because there's nothing more boring than a shower that's just sitting there. So I've got a shower curtain pole if I need it. So you've been there for your listing appointment when you signed everything. You walk through the house of that seller, you got to feel for, where does it look tired? So that's my attempt at some little staging. I mean, my cousin's a realtor in Charleston and she stages every home she lists. And that's just her thing, she does. But now she has a warehouse like Patty and a truck. But so think about those little things, and it might be as simple as me asking the seller, do you have some white towels? Okay, let's put a couple white towels here on picture day. Let's declutter the bed, prop up the pillows like you see at the hotel with some extra little throw pillows there. We'll throw at the end of the bed. You've seen all the cute pictures on Pinterest. So if you can suggest, they probably have the stuff at home. It's just a matter of they didn't put that nice bedspread on because the cat lays on the bed all day long. So bring it out of the closet. Let's put it on for pictures, and then you can take it back. Hey, come on in.
Yeah, and Christy, one thing I will add, and I think that will help you differentiate yourself and get listings. I always give them the first hour comp. So I pay for the first hour. And then if they need to have a stager in for 6 or 7 or 8, whatever else, they can pay for that. I'm paying for the first hour.
And feel free, in this market, luckily, fewer listings are failing. So that's always where I hesitate in the past. That what if that listing falls apart? What if they pull it off the market and I've put money into it? So I've even written in a special stip on my listing agreement says, if buyer or if seller terminates this listing prior to its selling or prior to the end date of this contract, they will reimburse Keller Williams Atlanta North X amount of dollars for marketing expenses.
Oh, that's good.
So that way, and I've had one time where somebody did pull it off early, wrote me a check, and all was fine. So think about what you may be doing, and you might put it in there, and maybe you put $500, maybe you put $250. It just depends. So if you know you're going to be offering some $150 worth of staging advice, because I have done that in the past where I've sent the stager out and I've paid for it because I knew it would make a difference and the seller wasn't hearing me and I didn't want to have a fight about it. It's not worth that. So I'm like, you know what, this is something I do. Why don't I have her come out? The lady came out and sent her a nice long list of what she wanted to do, had a couple rooms painted, everything was great. So, oh, look, I group up there now.
Yeah, you do.
So,
You got 9, I'm 8.
And y'all feel free to pipe in up there because I'm not looking at the screen, so I don't know if anybody's raising hands or something. So that's my spiel on staging, but I highly recommend it. Every house needs some little tweak to it. The next part is gathering all the information you can get. You'd be surprised what your sellers have. They probably did an appraisal or they refinanced a few years ago when rates started dropping. They've got a floor plan or a similar kind of thing from a floor plan on their appraisal. So just ask them that, oh, well, hey, they mentioned a refinance a couple years ago because the rates dropped down, and get that one page out. So then it'll show me the dimensions of the room. And short of me paying for a floor plan to be done, that's a nice thing to use. So pull out the floor plans. Oh, is there another question?
Is that also on Realist?
No, you get the lot dimensions, and I will pull that out too, and I'll print that or blow it up or enlarge it, whatever it might be, because everybody wants to know what the lot does. So if I could at least have looked at it, I can go, oh, it goes down, like a pie, or oh, it's kind of a square, so people will just say it must go past that. Check your acreage both in FMLS Realist, and then for fun, go into Georgia MLS with CRS, and they aren't always the same. I have no idea why they pull from different sources like that. So I had a seller who insisted they had an acre. Realist said they had 1/4 of an acre, and they're like, that's wrong, that's wrong. And sure enough, CRS over in Georgia MLS showed the higher amount. So we're not here to decide what's right, but I know if I have a higher amount, it sells for more. So I'm going to put that in and I'm going to mark it as a public record. So just double check those things, because sometimes they just won't know. They've sat in the house for so long, or it's family member selling it.
That's a great point about the public record thing. So my first thing when I was doing that, if it doesn't match what public record says in FMLS, it doesn't let you select that. It projects it.
You have to change your source. So if you change it to appraisal or
Seller or something, some other option.
yeah, change one of the options. So if you
Okay.
pull it from the appraisal, I put the appraiser. If you've got a virtual tour or if you've got a floor plan, just give an idea. When you get empty houses and all the rooms start looking the same in the pictures, the floor plan helps again. So check and see what they have. Again, based on your budget, you might think about virtual tours. I know for a while Zillow had a feature where you could go in and it would only be on Zillow's site, I think. Can't remember if you could download it. But you walked in with your camera and you hit the 4 corners and it helped you build the floor plan. So it was pretty slick. So we were using that for a little while during COVID. But there's a lot of companies that'll help you build virtual tours. You can come in if you've got a good cell phone and film a virtual tour. So y'all just decide what your budget allows you to do on that. I think people like it. I think it's the way we're going. Do I do them very often? No, but that's shame on me. I don't know, Libby, do you do a lot of virtual tours?
I do not like them personally. Matterport makes me dizzy, it's expensive. I just don't like it, so I don't do it. I have every once in a while if I have a seller that really wants one. But, and my thing too is I'm always, with timing, the second photos are ready, for like 99% of my listings, we're listing. Videos just take longer to edit, and if I don't have it the second I list it, like, what's the point? I remember last year during COVID, I paid for a couple, because I was like, okay, it's more important to have that, and I was under contract by the time I got back. I was like, what a freaking waste of hundreds of dollars. Like, I was so annoyed. I'm like, I'm not doing it again unless the client begs for it.
They don't. And some of y'all, especially I know you probably talked about, what is our commission structure? And I've seen some agents who have a sheet that said for 3% I do this, 4%, 5, 6, 7, and they'll go up to 7 or 8%. So if you're willing to pay me 7 or 8%, by golly, I'll order the virtual tour for no problem whatsoever. So you can kind of decide, but I agree. They're not asking for it, but it's something I'm kind of watching to see, is it coming up more often? Is it something we need to keep on our radar, because you don't want to be that person who's not offering something that other agents are and they take their listing that way, even though we know it's not gonna make a difference. But yeah, all day long, spend your money on those photographers. That's where you get your return. And a lot of them will do packages at $99, $125. So that's not a lot of money for pictures. They'll go way up from there, but that is gold, liquid gold. Don't use your cell phone. Sure, for the coming soon, take a couple cell phone shots, put those up on Quan and Rawls group Facebook pages. That's fine. But yeah, please use those photographers. Been doing this lately, and it's really helped. So everything that's in a homeowners association has to fill out the community association disclosure. And you'd be surprised how little your seller knows about that stuff. So I usually will start off with an email, tell me who your property manager is, and I'll say, hey, I'm emailing the property manager, I'm copying off the read my seller, and I'm saying, just want to confirm these things. Could you just tell me if we're on the right path? What is your initiation fee? What is the monthly HOAs or the annual HOAs? What does it include? And sometimes they push back and be like, oh, you can order one of those closing letters. I'm like, no, we're not there yet. We're just going to the market. But the biggest thing your seller doesn't know is the initiation fee. And if your seller doesn't tell you that there's a $500 initiation fee to the buyer, when it comes time for closing, that's going to get charged back to the seller. So we don't want that to happen. And I want to know, can I put my signs out if it's a condo or a townhouse? Because a lot of them will let you do it. I had a beautiful listing in Country Club of the South. It was a gated community. They don't allow signs. Some of the higher end communities might require you to use a very specific sign for their community. So they have a look that's the same. That doesn't come up often, but I'd rather ask the question than get the call 2 days later and say, come get your sign out of the yard. And that house is an hour away. And I'm like, crud. So email them. If there's a gated community, you might ask, can I put a request in code issued to me? Or can I put a request in to have the gates open on a Sunday for an open house? Just so that way you're already prepared, because nothing like Friday afternoon, you're having an open house and you're like, crud, how are they going to get in on the gates? And short of everybody calling you while you're trying to talk to 3 people in the house and then answer your phone, you have more people at the gate, that's tough. So ask those questions to the HOA ahead of time. That way you can make sure that your seller has the right answers when they're filling out that community association disclosure.
And rental restrictions.
Oh yeah, rental restrictions are huge. So if you have condos and townhouses, people always ask, are rentals allowed? So if they say no rentals right now, whether it be months or years or number of people, number of units. And then whenever my folks buy a place in a place with a townhouse or a condo, I'll say, even if you don't want to rent it right now, get on the wait list. It may be 2 or 3 years out. Maybe by then you're thinking about putting it up for rent. So good point. A lot of sellers can't find their covenants, bylaws, guidelines, rules, regulations, whatever might go with that homeowners association. Ask about that. Maybe there's a website that you can pull them down from. But the more prepared you can get when you get that listing live, the faster it'll go for you to get that under contract, because your buyers are going to ask for it when you get those offers coming in. So you might as well just go ahead and get it all now. So obviously seller complete disclosures, because again, we're selling those listings really fast. Let's go ahead and get those disclosures in before you get that, before you go live, because that'll be the first question you get asked on day one. Look at your seller's disclosure when they give it back to you. If you know that house was built in 1989, 1992, whatever, make sure they understand what polybutylene pipes are. Do you have any of that gray plastic stuff? So that way when they're answering their questions, they're sharing as much as they can. Because I just had a friend whose deal fell apart because they've got polybutylene through the house, never had a problem with it, didn't know what it was. So they checked no on the disclosure, and sure enough, the inspection pulled it up. And so So if we look at it, we could also see where they checked yes for things. They didn't fill it out as to what that yes meant. So then I'll go back and say, could you please give me more details in these boxes or at the end or whatever it might be? Make sure that they're checking what stays with the house. You'd be surprised that most of them don't. And then you're like, wait, does the refrigerator stay or doesn't it stay? You don't know. So check those. If you haven't seen it on some of the listings that you previewed, I like using list reports. Some mortgage lenders want to set you up and they're going to help support your marketing. You can get it for yourself for free. So go to listreports.com and it just has fun little flyers.
How do you get it for free? Because some of you can connect with the lender when you do it. Or
You
can't
don't.
you?
You
don't?
can just decline.
They want you, you can say, so
I can take it off. If I
Yeah.
want to? Okay. thank
yeah,
you.
so they look like this. But schools that properties in, and also includes your private schools a little bit, but it's got ratings. So in this case, this was Johns Creek, so the ratings are 8, 9, and 10, they're great. If it comes back with 2, 3, 5s, you can click to suppress the ratings and it just takes them off the slide. Not that I'm misleading anybody, but that's not a selling point, so it's not something I'm gonna call out on a property that doesn't have school ratings that are strong. But it talks about what kind of things are nearby, talks about restaurants, popular parks and golf courses, things like that. So it's kind of fun. So go ahead and order that as soon as you've got your listing agreement signed. And that way it's, you've got it ready. So then I'm gonna take those and I'm gonna print them out from my property book, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then I'm also gonna convert each of the 4 slides to a picture, so I can add those to my pictures in the listing service. Oh, no, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. So go ahead and order list reports. That's the time I'm starting to post it on either Quan. Page, not the regular Rawls group, but the buyer seller Facebook page.
With the coming soon. How soon can you do the coming soon?
Well, it just depends on what your
That's
listing agreement
words.
says. So obviously you're following all guidelines that it has to be an FMLS with a certain amount of time. So based on that, it might have to be within 48 hours. So you've got it in FMLS is coming soon as well, following whatever those guidelines are that you've been taught. Don't ask me to.
Let's say if we sign agreement today and said that we're not gonna take.
Please check with Sherry on that.
I probably got part advance
Yes.
because as soon as somebody sees it, they're gonna say, can I see it?
Yeah, I wouldn't go more than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I just need to verify. with
Just
you.
verify with Sherry.
Okay.
though.
Yeah.
That's what I'll do. 'cause
Yeah,
I
I'm not trying to go
not
against
gonna
that.
Yeah, broker question, broker question.
Because I'm also a big fan of putting it coming soon in FMLS and Georgia MLS as well.
Is that
You
you
might
on?
look with that, sorry.
So many questions, right?
Yeah,
Uh-huh. Go ahead.
no, you got it.
I was gonna say, is there anywhere on FMLS that we can go and see all these rules, so they wouldn't break any rules?
Yeah, 'cause I'm
Sherry
wondering-
probably could answer that for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Broker question.
Because
Broker question.
I get fuzzy on it. You can certainly sign a listing agreement that's not gonna go in the market for 6 months, but I think guidelines around how fast it needs to go and more than I thought, and they're like, you gotta come out of coming soon. I'm like, so ask those questions as we say.
Have you had interest from like, I haven't used coming soon yet.
I have had people call and ask me about one, and obviously when you're setting up a alert that goes to your client every morning, they can't see those coming soons, only agents can see them. But when I have a hot person who's looking for something, I can't find anything, I'm always plenty.
I did coming soon on my one listing and I did it the 2 weeks out, like you said. And I did get agents call me, and the only problem I was having is people were trying to force an appointment.
Yeah.
And I'm
That's
like,
why I
I
don't
can't let you
use
see
that.
it, so I think that was the
I
only
don't.
thing I
And
felt like was
honestly,
kind
if
of
I see
weird.
it coming soon, I'm gonna ask the question.
Oh, yes.
Can I go show
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Well, I'll ask
Right.
anyway.
They're not supposed to say
No,
yes,
but
but if they say yes to me, they're saying yes to other people, so I'm not waiting, you know,
Uh-huh.
like.
Exactly.
I
think
denied
they're
the
trouble on
appointment
me
in
for that.
showing time, cause I didn't know, again, showing time, they were able to like put an appointment in showing
Yeah.
time, cause
Yep.
it's been coming soon. And
Ah,
I was just like,
No.
Sherry, there's somebody putting, can I, no, so I just declined it and called the agent saying, hey, you know, we're not going live until Thursday, blah, 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 and that's how but I felt like people use coming soon as a way to kind of preview the house, I guess, but you're not allowed to do that.
right. And I mean, have there been cases where there's people painting the house and an agent shows up and happens to wander through? Yes, that has happened, but I you may go see that property before I can tell the rest of the world. they can go. But I do think people know, especially when it's hot neighborhoods, they're like, okay, great, there's one coming in 2 weeks. So we can at least. For 20 bedrooms, whatever might be. But locally, you can pick up sign writing, sign writer, and then they usually have a bunch of stickers. And so then you just put your sticker on the top of it and pop it on top of your sign.
Or if you live over here, Barrett Parkway.
Barrett Parkway as well. If you feel like you like 285, Farmer Signs is at Smyrna at South Cobb, like Atlanta, Atlanta, and 285.
I like
And
that
you just
store.
walk in, you're like, hey, I'm here to get some signs. You just walk right on through and through all this fun stuff. And they've got a big warehouse, and you're just like, what do you need?
So how do I, this might be something I need to talk to Sherry about, but I'm gonna ask. How do I know, aren't there like different restrictions in certain areas as to when you can put your like open house signs
Yes,
out?
yeah.
Where do I, is there a website I go and check?
You go to the county website.
County or city.
Every,
Say
yeah,
Friday to Sunday, but.
Yeah, usually Friday by 5 o'clock because the city workers are
Yeah.
off now.
and don't mess with Woodstock.
And don't mess with Roswell.
Woodstock has different rules than everybody else. You see
Okay,
that
thank you.
causeway going down there, don't you put one sign on there. You're gonna get it tossed away and you're gonna get a phone call.
Yeah, I feel
from
like
the
Miss
house.
Wagner told me that.
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
You're gonna get all these
She like
signs
put them
on
up
the
right
door.
before the open house and put them
Yeah.
right after. She's like, they take my signs off. And
Yeah, you learn real quick which areas you're losing signs. And
Yeah,
so
like no balloons and Same Street, like there's.
What?
Yeah,
No balloons.
check,
Same Street.
yeah, you can just go check
So
the
go to the
county
county website?
websites and the
Okay.
city specifically to see
Yeah.
what their ordinances are.
Wow.
Cobb we know, Cobb you put them out Thursday, pick them up Sunday evening, you're good. But the
And-
other counties,
See, but I was told East Cobb was like Friday after 5.
no,
I've always done Friday morning, it's fine.
yeah, it's fine.
it just varies, yeah, you'll see. Once you
You're
lose
always
it,
gonna have risk of something crap.
I know.
Or
And
an
you,
angry neighbor.
Right.
and you might, they always say, try to get 10 plus signs out and put another sign, because you're also advertising you on those directionals. So spend the money, go either online or Farmers or wherever it is and buy those stickers with your name and phone number at a minimum. And don't try to fill it all up with your website and your, all these other happy things, or people can't read it when they're driving by. So I want my phone number as big as possible. I don't care if it just says Christy, because that's all that fit. But I want them, because I've gotten listings from directionals. They're like, I see your signs everywhere. I'm like, no, I just had an open house. But so think about, because sometimes stage 1 might happen in the course of 1 or 2 days. It's gonna be fast. But get those signs ready. Everybody should have at least 1 yard sign out there. Again, pay to get those stickers done. You'll use them, I promise you. So rather than paying $10 for 1 set of stickers, pay $50 and have like, 12 or 14 set of stickers. You'll use them, yes. Yeah, when I got divorced, I just cut out my last name, so that's why I said Christy, because I'm stickers, because then I changed offices and I had my phone number. But yeah, if you take the sign of this Farmer Signs over there in Smyrna, they know which color template you use, because there's, the stock stuff and then there's some specialty stuff. And they can print stickers to go over any of that stuff. Same thing if somebody leaves. I've had some people say, I've got old signs, you want old signs? I'm like, thank you, Joyce. And I just went and got stickers with my name on them and put them over top of somebody else's name. I even found a beautiful post sign at Goodwill sitting out by the dumpster. And I'm like, can I have that? And they're like, yeah, we don't know what to do with it. I'm like, thank you, Royal Randolph. That's mine. And I knew the guys.
On the sign, you put your name, your number, do you put the address of the house?
Not on my sign, because those are the ones I use over and over again.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
people have bought sign writers, and you can do some landing pages, even through command, you could do that. So you might have 1, 2, 3 Main Streets, you can say, go to, www. landing.
Where do you get stickers?
I ordered mine through Farmers. I've also done them online with other companies, so
Or
Farmer
FMLS.
Signs. FMLS, probably you could order there too.
Yeah, I got this, mine from FMS, right?
So there you've got the
there,
one
Barrett
size
Parkway.
that are on the directionals that are the smaller signs, and then there's a larger size that you would put on the big red signs, the yard signs. And especially the directionals. When you do open houses, you want your name and phone number on those signs. It's nice to borrow them from Libby, because she gets to advertise her name some more, but if you can have your own set, you'll use them. And then I like it farmers or FMLS, because then if I've lost a couple signs on the last open house, I can just go grab a couple more. I know in Smyrna where the city dumps them all and there's this dumpster and they'll leave them sitting next to the dumpster first before they throw them all in, but I've had to go back and reclaim some of my signs there. In Smyrna, it's where that big on Atlanta Road, there's the big Taylor Bonner Park and that's city offices. So there's a dumpster behind it. And they'll leave them in the back of the pickup truck for a day or so, like over the weekend. So whatever they took away from me on Friday, I can get them back. Or by default, if you want some more posts for your signs, you might as well go steal the posts off the ones that are getting ready to head to the dumpster. Because those get expensive and they get bent after a few times with your foot.
Yeah.
So I don't know where other cities or towns put them.
Marietta, I wonder where they jump are.
I know. So now we've moved on to dumpster diving and marking your list.
Oh
But,
my gosh.
it gets expensive and it's frustrating when you put the same directional out for that for sale sign and it keeps disappearing. And you're like, whatever. Because sometimes there's that right of way and that's where Woodstock gets real picky
Yes,
too.
yeah.
Sometimes Marietta does as well, that if it's in that right of way on a really busy intersection, they
Yeah.
can't have 20 different signs crapping everything up. So they'll clear those out. So I bumped into that too.
They sure left those political signs up though, just saying, I'm not going, let's keep going.
Oh yeah, three months after the election's over, those are still up. So think about your signs. You might go ahead and think about your lock boxes. If you don't have a lock box, I've got extras. I'll let you borrow one, but you might have a lock box at least in your inventory. And I watch when people say, "Oh, I'm selling lock boxes for $75 a piece." Go snag one then. Don't pay $125 or whatever they are now at Superfast. You don't have to. But yeah, if you get a listing tomorrow and you're freaking out, you've got 10 listings, yay. You can always borrow lockboxes off somebody else because we can give you the shekel code. That way you can put them on the thing. We can change the alert to somebody so that you can know when you've had showing. So don't stress about that, but keep it in your mind. And then get that coming soon sign in the yard. So that was just phase one. Y'all worn out yet?
Phase 1.5.
Yeah, dumpster diving.
That's not in here.
No, dumpster diving was that little tip only y'all here in the class know about.
Yeah.
So if I come in with smudges one morning, you'll know I dumpster dive. And I've seen signs going in our dumpster too, where somebody just get rid of old signs. So slap your sticker on there. Okay, so now you're in the FMLS, you're ready to go live or coming soon, whatever, put it all in there. And I know it sounds silly to say fill it out completely because I've seen so many listings where it just says other. Well, what the heck is other mean? Because my client's searching for level backyard. Well, you didn't click in that yours had a level backyard, so we never saw your listing. Or you didn't click in that it had a finished basement. And surprise, there's a finished basement. Because sometimes I'll look at it and be like, no basement? Well, that's overpriced. And then I show up the house, I'm like, you have a beautiful finished basement. Why would you not have mentioned that? So fill it out with everything. And I joke about own the warts. If you know that house has no backyard, I put in there, no backyard. If you don't want to mow grass, this is the house for you. So, because people are looking for that when they have kids or pets or whatever. If it slopes down, some people love that because then they can look at the woods behind the house, but be upfront about it. Don't talk about a beautiful gourmet kitchen and then not have a picture of the gourmet kitchen, because then I'm thinking you're lying. So if you've got a picture, back it up. If you've got a problem, say so. When people call me, now I just want to let you know this one doesn't have any backyard. And they're like, well, that's good to know. We don't need one anyway. Or, oh yeah, that was requirements. We'll take it off the list. Because I'd rather not waste an agent's time. Because we've all been there. We've all showed up for something and it was a big stinker. And we're sitting there in front of our clients going, sorry, I recommend this on PC. That's on me. So just be considerate of your other agent too. Driving instructions.
Yeah.
Lately, that is my pet peeve. I don't want to see GPS. I want you to tell me you drove there, you got the listing signs, you know where the house is, fill it out. And I don't need a lady to tell me how to get from Gwinnett and Buford all the way down to an East Cobb house from 85 Buford. Just pick the interstate that's closest to that house, bring it off 75, bring it off 285, whatever it might be. Because, and I know it sounds silly, but I don't know Henry County. And heaven forbid I'm showing houses. If you tell me if it's off 75 Hudson Bridge exit, then I know about where that house is and I know my client wants that area. If you just tell me it's off 141 and I have no idea what 141 is or 138 or whatever these little state roads are, I don't really know. And I know, okay, shame on me, should I be selling in an area I don't know? It happens, we all go there. But sometimes your client's out of town or out of state and they don't really know the area that well. So if you tell me it's off I-75, then that helps me a lot versus if it's off I-20, I know that is a little harder commute because my client has to work up 400, I don't know, whatever it is. But if you can, bring it from an interstate or a very major road that somebody would know like Peachtree Industrial. You can't just say Upper Roswell Road because people don't know Upper Roswell, Lower Roswell if you're not from East Cobb. So just try to be considerate of police directions. I've had my GPS fail and I've had to use the paper directions to get into the house. I've had something get, calibrating while I'm driving, going, oh, crap. Or it's new construction, I can't find it. But if you gave me the driving instructions, I could probably say, take me to the intersection, and then there's gonna be signs and balloons and flags directing me the final way. But help your fellow agents out. Don't put CGPS.
Or GPS friendly.
Yeah. And then who knows? I've got an old Lincoln that's 6 years old and it's not GPS friendly for that house that was built in 2017. So, yeah. Load your pictures, and I know it takes time and I don't always do it, but I should be doing it, especially if it's a vacant house. Put the comments on the pictures. We've got a lot more space that we can do public comments now, but we used to not. So if that bedroom has a pretty balcony, mention that in the pictures, or whatever it might be, call out your features, because that's just one more place you can market how amazing that house is. New carpet, updated lighting, whatever it might be, put that in there. And especially when it's vacant, all the rooms start looking the same because they're hardwood floors and they're gray walls, and you're like, is that bedroom 1, 2, 3? Same thing with your floor plan, that'll help people feel. Load them in the order that you would come into the house. I hate picture, kitchen, bedroom, basement, there's a bathroom. I'm like, is it the master? It has 2 vanities, it could be, I don't know. So try to put them all together. So you've got all of this bedroom together, then there's the bathroom that's nearby for that bedroom, next bathroom, all the kitchen. Because when people come in, they're looking for that kitchen shot right off the bat. So I'll put front entry, and even if the kitchen's not the first thing, I might then start with kitchen, move into family room, whatever else is on the main floor, then head upstairs, head downstairs, out the backyard. Amenities, when you've got your photographer, if there's amenities in that neighborhood, have them shoot those too. They might charge you an extra $5 or something, I don't know, they're all different. But take a picture of the pool. I've been known, if it's wintertime and the pool's closed and it's ugly, I'll call and say, hey, Rusty, you had a listing in Northampton back in the spring, could I have permission to use your pool shot? And I've never had an agent say no. They don't care, he sold that listing, he's long gone. I've been known to, if it's a past listing and I know if there's a renter in there and that house is garbage right now, but it used to look pretty, I'll call a past agent and say, can I buy your pictures off you? So, because I already spent the money on the pictures, my listing's already sold, I'm not selling it again, because maybe I was working with the previous seller. And so one said, yeah, $100. I'm like, fine by me, I'd be spending $100 easy to get new pictures. And now I have better shots because the house still looks like that. It just has a messy renter in it right now.
So is it necessary to put in there that this is the old, previous owner's pictures?
I have not. If I have permission and I have them sign a sheet, because there's a sheet in FMLS or Georgia forms that you can have permission to use old photography, then if the house still looks like that, but I wouldn't show somebody else's pictures if the house looked nothing like that anymore. So that way it didn't matter. I mean, it still has the same gray walls, still has the same flooring, still the general floor plan. Oh, sorry, that's me. So yeah, arrange your pictures, bring in the infographics that we talked about from list reports. Nearby spots. I use that a lot, especially because we have a lot of out-of-town people that come to Georgia, out-of-state people. So if I'm selling in Smyrna, there's always a shot of the stadium. There's always a shot of downtown Smyrna. If I'm in Marietta, even if it's East Marietta, I've got the downtown Marietta Square. I might have East Cobb Park. I might have a picture of the avenues. Whatever is popular in there nearby, even if it's not a walkable area, put your hot spots in there with it, because you're selling the whole lifestyle, and that helps get a lot of attention to your listings too.
I wouldn't have thought about that. That's a good idea.
Yeah. And years ago, I was in an office where they paid a photographer to do stock photos of, Marietta, Powder Springs, Smyrna, some different areas, so we could use them over and over again, which was pretty cool. So I've talked to regular photographers and said, hey, Rusty, next time you're over in Marietta taking a shoot, would you get a couple shots of some parks, the avenues, whatever, and over 6 months as you get them, I'd love to buy them off of you, or the rights to use them.
Or maybe local could just buy a set and then the agents can just use it.
That could be a thought. So we could hit Jim up and say, what do you think about that? Because maybe we spend $300 and they can get a bunch of East Cobb, regular Marietta, whatever shots nearby. And that'd be great. Heck, I mean, I'd even sign up to say, well, if you're going to be doing that, would you go do some more Woodstock? I'll chip in some money as an agent to get some more Woodstock shots, because I sell a lot of Woodstock. But these photographers, they're driving around their car, they've got their equipment. I've had some say, no problem, give me like a couple weeks and I can send you some shots just so you have stock photos for this area of town. I'm like, perfect. So that'll make you stand out from other people, because that your clients are looking and seeing what houses sold, so they'll know, oh yeah, you sold me that house, okay, those pictures were great, or those were not. And again, I'm challenged, but load those disclosures into FMLS and Georgia MLS, because we do have a lot of folks who are still using Georgia MLS out there, especially coming from the south side of town or outside the perimeter a little bit more. Because as easy as you can make it for them to make you an offer, that's one less special stipulation stating seller will provide these disclosures within 48 hours or whatever it is. Just get them all out there and put them out. Because I'll look at those disclosures when I'm showing houses, if I just have a couple, and I'll make notes to my buyers saying roof 7 years old, heating and air is 2 years old. And so those are things that help even for the buyer's agent too. So put those out there, make it easy. I'm a big fan of crap in the house. So these are always free, especially if you go to Whole Foods. There's always like an East Cobber magazine. Those of you who have kids, I bet you could snag some of these at the school, which talks about Cobb County schools. They don't always put these out every year. But I might have just a couple different things to be on the market. This one, No Atlanta, this map is sponsored by FMLS. They also carry these in the FMLS store. For those of you who are allowed in, because Rusty's not allowed in there. But it has a big giant, if you unfold it, has a big map of Atlanta. So when you're having a buyer's consultation, it's kind of nice. They always spotlight a different part of town. They probably spotlight some new communities, that sort of thing.
So you have to buy it or is it free?
No, they're free. So,
Sometimes they send them in the mail too, like City of Kennesaw will send us the
oh yeah.
monthly, whatever.
Yeah, I think we get the Cobb in focus here, so go snag those out of the mail room. But yeah, Whole Foods always has a bunch of different ones too, that might be interesting to see.
Publix too.
Oh, yeah,
Twenty
Publix.
23 before they open the store, but yeah, you get it if it's open.
Yeah, exactly. So do those. There might be a local newsletter that they put out that sometimes, like in the library, I can get extra copies of whatever is going on in Smyrna. Obviously, I don't live in Smyrna, I give you an example. But whatever helps somebody who's not from that area, because that's the neatest thing. When I walked in and first saw somebody else's property book, I'm like, I need these, because it looked like they were so organized, they knew so much about the property. And then while my client's looking around, I'm flipping through the book going, did you know Sandy Springs has concerts out on the green on the weekends? I didn't, but now I do. So it's just whatever you can help somebody else sell that house for you. I know it sounds silly, but those things all make a difference to somebody somewhere. And all you want to do is sell that listing faster. Okay, so we start the property book. So there's a list of some of the stuff I'll put in the property book, and again, it will vary by property. But FMLS listing, I have been known to put if it doesn't have anything special in the private remarks, like here's a code for the house, I've been known to put the agent view, because then it happens to have my phone number on the bottom. So if you get mad at your agent later, you're still holding on to that flyer. You've got it. So my flyers are in there. We make up something simple, nothing fancy. The FMLS or printouts are in there, and I'll have extra copies of those, because let's face it, some agents are not as organized as you are, and they're not giving a copy to their client as they're showing properties, so the client's going to pick it up. And again, that's got my name on it. So there might be some little, maybe I've got jar openers that say I'm cobbhomesales.com, so I might put my little jar openers, just a couple of those, or have some extra pens in case somebody needs to take notes. Again, has my name on them. But and I probably put a lot less when it's an occupied house. I'm not going to put a whole dining room table worth of stuff on an occupied house with kids. That's just too much hassle for my seller. So I might, in that case, only have the property book or the flyers to stand. So nothing too much. Upgrade list. You walk through with the seller when you got the listing. They talked about their new windows, their new roof, and you wrote all that down and you put it in your listing. I start, and you saw it in the book, a list of upgrades, because I'm also thinking forward to when it's time for that appraisal. I'm going to say, here's my comps and my upgrade list. Here's why we priced what we were when I give that to the appraiser. And I will put that list into FMLS as well as a document. Anything you can do to put that in front of people. If you know you've got a house that's hot and it's priced really well with your neighborhood, I'll even put in the comps to say, here's what's sold in the last 6 months in this neighborhood, and here's why we're such a bargain. And that helps, especially if I'm priced a little lower than some of those others, but they had a few more updates to me anyway. And then those will be given to the appraiser when it's time for the appraisal. My last utility list, I'll put that in there too. And go past that if they use a landscaper, if they use somebody to heat the heating and air, if they use somebody to service the termite or the bug service, whatever they've done, stick it in there, because you're making that buyer's agent look amazing. And if you make the buyer's agent look good, she will always remember, or he will always remember you, and that's just goodwill in the world of agents. Infographic slides are in there. I laugh about the Zillow's estimate, because lately Zillow's not so good and prices have been going up pretty quick. So I'm not too proud. I will print out the Zillow's estimate, or the realist shows the price range too. If people are looking on things like realtor.com and say, look, these guys said I was worth 500,000. I'm only priced at 450. So this is a bargain. So just be careful. I wouldn't obviously put it out if it was not making my price look good, but whatever helps push that. You probably saw some local interest. That one has what's around Johns Creek. That one had information of the homeowners association. Lot map I pulled off Realist to show the shape. It's not a survey thing. It's not intended to be that. If you've got an HOA, I've even taken a screen grab of the front of the Facebook page or the front of the website for the HOA and put that in the book. Or sometimes I've captured it as a picture and put it as a picture with my listing to say, hey, if you want more information on this neighborhood, you can always Google, because you can't write, www.northampton.com for the HOA, because that's a little next anything like that. Okay. Oh, warranty item. So if they just got new windows, new roof, or new flooring, and it's transferable, mention that too, or put it in the book, whatever it might be. Because the more organized you are, the more they think the house has been maintained. So, okay, now you're gonna market to the agents. How are we doing on time? You guys falling asleep back there yet? Feel free to chirp in. Okay. All right, so marketing agents in public. So I didn't know this, but when I had somebody help me with my website, she goes, ask the local board. I belong to the Atlanta board for a list of all the email addresses. I'm like, what? And she said, well, yeah, you can have it if you ask. So ask your board for it. And you've all gotten the email saying, hey, new listing for Susie Q with Caldwell Banker. And you're like, why is she sending me this? Because she asked for the list and she sent it out to everybody. So if that's your thing, just know that's a source you could use. I'm not familiar with the COB, but I assume they're probably the same way. I'll reach out to agents if it's a hot neighborhood who just went under contract or just sold in the neighborhood to say, hey, I saw you had a cute listing on the street. Y'all went under contract in 2 days. Did you get multiple offers? Yeah, we did. We got 7 offers. Well, can you tell me if there's any agents who missed out on the deal? And she'll say, yeah, sure. Give Rusty a call. So then I'll call Rusty and be like, hey, I heard you had made an offer on a house in Northampton. I just keep using that off the top of my head. We've got one coming in that area. So he hadn't seen it yet. So that way you can kind of start building up some interest. I think it just builds goodwill to all of us. And if you help them, they help you. It all makes it better, because you know who's going to be around a while. The ones that are jerks, those guys are going to be gone. The ones that are nice, we all have enough houses for us all to sell. We don't need to be competitive just because we have different colored signs. So, and by default, when they call you and ask you for help when they put theirs on the market, you'd be helpful to them too. Schedule your open houses. Make sure you go into Zillow. Used to let you do some updates, but not as much right now. Realtor.com, check and see what your listing looks like on those sites, because sometimes it didn't bring everything over completely. So you might need to tweak that it's got a finished basement, that it's got a 2-car garage or a 3-car garage, it's attached. Some of those things don't always come over. And knowing that clients are going out to Realtor.com, Redfin, Zillow, and doing their searches that way, just make sure it's there. Check your listing on our app and make sure it's showing everything's correctly too.
So if it doesn't show the.
Sometimes you might have to go into KWLS, which gets fed, I guess, from our FMLS listing, because I don't ever put it in KWLS. And you might have to just check in some boxes there too, that it was actually a 2-car attached garage, because sometimes that doesn't show up as how many garages. But see what it looks like, because your seller's going to look at it. The seller's going to Google their address and go, wait a minute, this is not showing right, or it's showing old pictures because there's been 6 past listings on Zillow. Okay. Please let it not be a Zillow problem, because you'll never get anybody there. But you should be proactive, because your seller's going to. So check all your listings. I've been known when it's not. Here's a basket full of chocolate candy, because you can't resist chocolate, and I'll take it over to Caldwell Banker. I'll be like, did you put this in your mailroom or your agent workroom, whatever? I just want to tell them about a new listing. They're like, sure, and they always say yes. And we don't have them as much in our mailroom, but I'm sure that in the past they've been there too. But again, hot market, you don't need to, but something you can think about. Just listed on Facebook. If you post it, and you can tag your friends with your seller, tag it to them, then it feeds into theirs. So then all their friends see it. And then hopefully they're like, the best listing agent ever. And with reverse prospecting, when I've got something to talk about. So if y'all know what reverse prospecting is in FMLS, if you pull up your listing, like my active listings, I didn't search for it, I had to go through my dashboard, my active listings, and then I click on it, down at the bottom, there's a button that says reverse prospect. So if I click that button, I can see that these 30 agents have clients with a search set up, an active search, that my house meets that need. So I'll see that I won't know the client's name. I'll just know that it's Kim and she's with Keller Williams. Here's her phone number, her email address, and it was sent to her client on this date. And she sent a total of 12 properties through that auto email to that client. So if they've gotten hundreds, it's fine. Investors just had a search sitting out there for years. I ignore those, but I'll start at the top. Anybody marked as a favorite? Hey, Andy, I see you've got a client who's marked my property as a favorite. I'd love to let you know that we're going to do it open house this weekend.
Friday.
Exactly, but you'd be surprised how few agents are using it. So it still stands out. It's still something they see. So if there's something for you to talk about, send your client to open house. You're still protected. I'd love to help you out. Or it's been on the market for a week and a half. She hasn't shown it. Hey, India, I'd be happy to show your client this house. If there's, since they marked it as a favorite, you're still protected. I always make sure I keep saying that over and over to them. I'd be happy to set them up a time for it. Whatever you can do, because if you have to work a little harder, I do it because I'm here to help the seller. I'm here to sell that property. And if I have to show your client and your client the house without the agent, I'm gonna do it because that's the right thing to do. So,
Can you get your 14%?
yeah.
Because we work for the seller.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna jip, I mean, I've
Yeah.
had an agent or client come through an open house, they came back for a second showing, and then poof, in parachuted their agent. I don't care, I mean, I would like to have the both sides, but it's not the way it worked out, I wanted to sell the house. So, just some ideas there. And then marketing to your seller, don't forget about that part. So as soon as it goes on the market, within, I'll give it like 2 days, I will Google the address. It shows me all the places it's listed, Coldwell Banker, Redfin, Zillow, Trulia, all that stuff. And then I'll send an email. Hey, just want to let you know the listing's up and running. We're getting a lot of online activity. Here are some sample sites of where your property is shown. And I love to tell them, hey, here in Norman.com, I've got your property on there because I'm that good. They don't know FMLS lists it to everybody else. They just know that that house was so popular, Harry Norman had to pick it up and show it on their site, and Coldwell Banker showing it on their site too. So then they're like, yeah, my agent rocks. So that way they can go through and play and see what it looks like. Make sure you know what it looks like on those sites before you share that. And then some of the sites like Zillow and Realtor.com, you can pull it up under your sign-in ID as an agent, my listings, and then see how many views it's had. So then, hey, here's some online views, Realtor.com. When you pull up the listing, you can, it defaults to agent view, I think, when you look at a listing for a property. Click that little box to say, what is it, view activity. No, hit counters. You have to page down the drop-down box, but hit counters will tell you how many emails have been sent out that your property was part of the list.
On
FMLS. How many views it had. Like you can change from agent view to buyer view to single line view. Those are all the different kinds of views. Hit counters way at the bottom. So that way you can say your client, and I'll list these sites have had a lot of activity. Here's how many views. Here's how many click-throughs. Here's how many shares. Here's how many saves. Here's how many favorites. And then Georgia MLS has it too. So if you go into Paragon for Georgia MLS, because that's not our primary, it's going to be real low, but there's some there too. On the left nav bar where they have all the things like maintain listing, open house with the, there's a view activity report there too. And it'll show you how many saves and emails that one had. So those are just some sites where you can kind of just reinforce how the online activities go on, because it's so hard for us to measure unless they call it to any showing. But I usually, if I see a lot of possibilities and favorites in FMLS, that tells me what my showing activity should probably start looking like.
Now I got a question.
Here, we press to get the view number. Where's that? Say that again.
It's, where's the chat? Yeah.
Oh, on FMLS at the top of the screen where it says agent view, single line view, and you can draw, it's drop down box. When you're looking at listings. Oh. If you do the drop down box, you have to page down all the way. The very last one is hit counters.
Where is it?
So instead of agent view or agent single line view, page all the way down and get hit counters.
Christy. Here it is. Where am I going to get? Oh.
Keep going down further. Boom at the
Oh
end.
my goodness.
So it's all the way at the bottom. And then on Georgia MLS, if you pull up your listing on the left nav bar, it might say maintain, it's by in Paragon. It'll say like open house, it'll say update. It's got a thing in there that says activity, view activity report on Georgia MLS on the left-hand bar. that help? Okay.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
For clients who were like for sale by owners and they list the property themselves, they probably know what they were doing. And so when it comes to remove it, because they're gonna list with an agent and they don't know how, do you know how to navigate through that?
Zillow's not good at removing anything.
Oh.
So the downside is when you put your listing in, first you might have some challenges with them that's showing the old stuff, not the new stuff. Eventually they will merge together and will have their old pictures and yours. But otherwise you have to open up a ticket with Zillow, hop on one foot with one eye closed, do whatever you have to do to bring in luck and the gods, and then maybe somebody will open that ticket. I mean, you think I joke, but and so in theory, Zillow can say, yes, they can remove the old because they see a new, because they're merging together. And it happens a lot. Somebody bought a house and a year later they're reselling the house. They've redone a bunch of places and you still see the old paint colors in the old kitchen. And you're like, those pictures. But you can open a ticket with Zillow and try to get that addressed. And that's your best hope.
And she can go in and take it and remove it.
Yeah.
I've had a Facebook with that, when I listed this property. So if you have time, you can sit with her at her computer, let her go sign in like she normally did. When she goes in, you'll see how to remove. It says remove.
There you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably a lot easier to try to get Zillow to help you merge.
So she can remove.
Yeah. But the worst part is when it was something that sold recently in the last couple of years, and that's still, but they've gotten a little better because sometimes now when it's not on market, you don't see the 30 pictures that used to be out there for the photo. You just see the front shot. So they may be getting better at that, but you just don't know. So monitoring the new listings in the neighborhood, make sure you know what's going up in the neighborhood because your seller certainly does. And they call you and be like, hey, did you see that greenhouse in the corner when it for sale? I'm like, no, I did not. So some people, they don't have a lot of listings. They might set themselves up for an alert for only that neighborhood, just so they know when something's popping up, if they'll see it. Provide feedback to your sellers. We can't do that too much. You might set that expectation in your listing appointment so they know they don't need to call you every day to say, how's it going on my listing? They know on Monday and Thursday or whatever the days you pick, you're going to give them updates. Here's what happened over the weekend on Monday, on Thursday or Friday. You're like, here's what you can expect for the weekend. Here's the showing we have scheduled already. Just want to remind you that. Don't forget to turn the lights on, whatever it might be. So make sure you're providing feedback. We've been lucky again that things have been selling so fast, but at some point that won't be the case. So that's the biggest feedback sellers have about agents. They just didn't get that feedback.
Do you just set up a report in FMLS when you monitor the neighborhood just to watch?
You could do that. I mean, if you're like Libby, you've got 900 listings, you don't want 900 alerts, but you might do that to start off to say just whatever that neighborhood is, set yourself up like as if you were a buyer. So as soon as one pops up, you can click it to be auto alert as opposed to daily alert. So as soon as it comes up, you'll see it.
I actually, in this market, I literally just did two. I wait till they're on the market for a week, and if they're still on the market in a week, I set up the sellers, but I get it too. And it's just competition, so I know anytime I get an email, because I ignore all my things, but if I see when it's competition, I'm clicking it because I know they're clicking it too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so it shows me I do it for what's active as well as for what has gone under contract and what's sold. It's like, okay, this is our competition. Someone's picking that for listing, but they're not picking ours. What's our problem?
And that's perfect because as we get back into a more normalized market someday, that's key because you want to know while we've been on the market, 3 others went under contract. So I told you we're priced too high. We've got to lower our price. And so that way you're prepared to talk about it because they will call you and say that house is on the market and you figure they're watching Zillow. So it took another day for them to see it. So if you can see it before them or no, then you're like, oh, wow. Like, otherwise, let me check on it. I'll get right back to you. But that way you're setting the groundwork for when it hasn't gone under contract. I'm going to ask for that price drop. Remember, I've given you feedback for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever that time frame is. And then lastly, is it not selling? Everything will sell for the right price. So I know everybody's like, what do I do? And they're like, lower your price. That'll fix a lot. But sometimes I've also had them say, I'm not going to lower my price, but now I will pay for that staging because it's cheaper than you asked me for a price drop. But then keep in mind, you need new photos. Gotta get those new photos in there. I try to get everything in by Wednesday, Thursday, the latest, just because sometimes Zillow can have a delay. Sometimes they're immediate. You just never know. But I want to make sure everybody sees it before the weekend hits. So I get that weekend traffic or open house or whatever it might be. Change your front picture every now and then because people are just going through quickly and they're like, oh yeah, I've seen that for a career 3 times. So if I change up the picture, FMLS wants your most primary picture to be something like that. If you've got an amazing kitchen, you've seen some listings with that amazing kitchen as the front picture, whatever it might be. When you're hearing feedback, it's the same thing over and over again because the house stinks. You've got to make sure you take care of that, or make sure when someone books an appointment, you say, look, I know it's a little stinky because we had a pet the past, and that carpet will all come out, whatever it might be, own it, because we don't want, again, be kind to your buyer's agents. Yeah, so that's that in a nutshell. Like I said, 5 different agents will tell you 5 different things, but you find what works for you.
So for the picture thing, where you were saying the different, like, SunTrust Park, or, I use a free website where it's just like, I will type in Atlanta and it'll give me different pictures in Atlanta, so maybe that's an option for you guys to pull.
Yeah,
But
because
it's
you want to be
basically-
careful of royalty, so if
Well,
something's
it's a bunch
free,
of
you're allowed to.
photographers that put their pictures up for free, and you just basically give them feedback.
See, and I like that, so find the free sources, or I'm not proud, like I said, I'll ask another agent, can I use your amenity shot, because
Yeah.
it's winter time and I can't pick a pool shot no matter what, and the agents are usually very helpful, hopefully, yeah, I'll start my own office if I can get it, then stay with Keller Williams, then I'll go outside, but if I say, can I give you $25 for a picture, and most agents are like, sure, I'm not using it anymore, knock yourself out, I'll sign a little form that says you have the right to use it. But just be very careful and make sure you're covering yourself, because there have been cases where people have been fined for using pictures they shouldn't have been using.
Yeah, this is like specific for that.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe, and there might be amenity pictures on the HOA site for the home, for the
Yeah.
neighborhood, so, I've reached out to a neighborhood, said, can I use it? They're like, oh yeah, they're on our website, you can use them, to market houses in our neighborhood.
This is more generalized. like
But I love the
pictures of
free
city.
site.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pictures of the
because
city,
that's what I was.
pictures of, it's Pexels. Pexels? PEXELS. And so I put in like Atlanta, and it gave me like great shots of the city. Like I use it when I make my website, my agent website, just to, it's like some little back, or I put in pictures of moving, people moving out in and out of their house.
Yeah, because I'm sure something like that would have Piedmont Park, it'd have your big
It
things.
does.
But
They
yeah,
have Centennial Park on there.
Splashes.
what is it called?
Up splash.
Oh, okay, thanks, Yvette. Any other questions for people online?
Christy, I have a question. Your audio broke up. This is Allison Gale. Where are you going to order your list report?
Listreports.com.
Okay, thank you.
And then use the top right hand button, there's like order new marketing kit. And then when you do the marketing kit, infographics is one of the choices that pops up. I don't even know what all the other stuff is, I forget. But that's what I use most. And a lender can nominate, you can click that you want a lender attached to you if you want.
So if I already have one, can I undo it?
Yeah, you can undo it.
It takes like.
And his information doesn't show up on the
over like their
infographics.
face on the picture.
Ah,
On
Use our
infographics,
QR
it shows up, that's all.
I don't use RPR much, but that's another good source. Anything you can
Like
do
if I
to
want
help bring out the strengths of that property.
actual full report on the front page, it's like
Okay.
my picture and their picture.
All right.
I've only ever used.
Well, y'all have a great afternoon. If anybody needs any help, let me know.
Thank you.
Great, they're gonna.
You said you said new stuff?
I don't have a lot of new stuff now. I wish.
Good stuff.
Oh, for a while, I was doing a bunch of Woodstock last year. But yeah, I have new stuff. It's just there's not much inventory. Everybody wants it right now.
Thank y'all so much.
Yeah.
Online people.
Thank you.
What would you mind sending
And I
the
wanted that out.
pages
And
with
which
the
one?
listed
One
not
on,
you? Oh,
Lock Island.
oh, okay. I have a
Yeah.
copy, Yvette.
Yeah,
You
it's,
can get it from me, okay?
I think it's got good bones.
Okay.
I love the
Just
neighborhood.
remind me, are you coming in
House needs a
today?
lot of work.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
But we had probably six people, which
Oh, that's great.
we just, it was an impulse.
Okay.
Of course, we didn't-
Thanks, see you guys later.
Thank